Welcome back, Year 7. Mr. Baines here again to help you with your third lesson. Our comparison lesson today is all about the laws created by the Normans and the Romans. So we've had 2 comparison lessons so far, and today is the third one. Our driving question today is, how different was the Roman law and order to the Norman law and order? And we are going to be comparing them both today. Now, we have done a bit on both of these in previous lessons, and you definitely need to have done lesson 2 on governments for both, so you can understand what's going on in this lesson. Once again, we are starting with the knowledge quiz. Some questions are about the last 2 lessons we have done, with some questions are being revision for today's lesson. Go to the quiz part of the lesson and give the quiz a go. Pause this video now. Well done. Now we are going to start with the Romans. The Romans had a complex system of government, which we learnt about last lesson. Many of the basic systems and ideas that we have about laws and government today come from ancient Rome. This shows that there will be some similarities between Norman laws and Roman laws, because the Normans will have used Roman laws. The laws were enforced by an official called the praetor. The praetor was the second highest ranking official in the Roman Republic, after the consuls. Now remember, you need to have done the government part of this lesson to be able to understand this, so go back to the previous lesson if you're unsure. The praetor was responsible for the administrator of justice. To keep the laws in the city, the Romans had a police force called the Vigiles. Now this is a massive difference because the Normans did not have a police force. The Vigiles dealt with petty criminals like thieves and runaway slaves. Once again, a difference because Normans didn't use slaves or were unhappy with the use of slaves. When more force was needed, like during the riots or against gangs, other military groups were used. Who made these laws? Laws were made a number of different ways. The primary way of making official new laws was through the Roman assemblies. Laws was voted on by citizens who were members of these assemblies. There were other ways, however, that laws were implemented, including the plebeian council, decrees by the Senate, decisions by elected officials called magistrates, and edicts by the emperor. But remember, the main primary way was the Roman assemblies. Punishments and prisons. The punishment for committing a crime in Rome was not the same for everyone. What punishment you received depended on your status. If you were a wealthy patrician, you would receive far less punishment than a slave would for the same crime. Now, nowadays, we'd say that was unfair, and the Normans would agree with that. This is not a fair way of punishment. Punishment could include beatings, lashings, which is with a whip, or exile from the Roman Empire, fines, or even death. The Romans generally didn't send people to prison for crimes. They did have jails to hold people while their guilt or punishment was determined. This is a massive similarity with the Normans. The Normans did not use prisons as a punishment. They used them as a waiting pen before their guilt was determined. So a massive similarity there. You need to make a note of that. Now, the Norman laws. There were no paid policemen under the Norman rule. Massive difference there. There were village constables though. These were ordinary people who also had other jobs. They were not paid, they were just kept watch when they could. If someone saw the crime, they raised a hue and cry. This meant everyone else had to change the criminal when they heard the cry and try and catch them. If they caught the criminal, and if the crime was serious enough, the criminal was taken by the constable to the sheriff of the county and kept in prison until a trial. Notice that similarity there. The prison was not the punishment. Trials. If there was a witness to a crime, a judge would find out from them what had happened. But what happened if there was no witness or the witnesses disagreed? Until 1215, people let God decide. The accused was taken into a church to face trial by ordeal. There were different kinds of ordeals. One was ordeal by hot iron. The accused had to carry a piece of burning hot iron for 3 meters. Then the hand was bandaged for 3 days before being unwrapped. If the hand was healing cleanly, it was believed that God was telling everyone that this person was innocent. If it was infected, he or she was guilty. Other ordeals involved plunging an arm into boiling water or lowering the accused into a river to see if they would sink or float. If they sunk, they were innocent. If they floated, they were guilty. The Normans introduced as well trial or ordeal by combat, where the best fighter was the innocent one. Trial by ordeal was abolished in 1215. After 1215, all trials were decided by judges and juries. Juries were made up of ordinary people who knew the accused. This is very similar to what we use today. Here we have a collection of Roman and Norman laws. Like this punishment here, some are the same. So, in Roman laws, you could be fined. In Norman laws, you could be fined. A punishment that was the same. However, as you can see, the punishment for treason is different. So here for Romans, if you committed treason, so if you commit a crime against the empire, you suffer capital punishment. So it was just death. You were just killed. However, the Normans, for treason, you were hung, drawn, and quartered, which eventually led to death. But there were a lot of stages before that. So the Normans were more harsh on treason. So some of these laws and punishments are the same. Some of these are different. What you're going to do is put the correct laws into the correct part of this Venn diagram on the task part of the lesson. There is a Google Docs called Task 1. Copy these parts of the table into the correct part of this Venn diagram. If it is a Roman only law or punishment, it goes here into the left part of the Venn diagram. If it is a Norman-only law or punishment, it goes here into the right part of the Venn diagram. If, like the fine, it is the same or similar, then it goes here in the middle, because that means it is both Roman, so this line here, and Norman, this line here. Pause the video now and complete the task. Well done. As you can see, we now have some questions based on a video that have appeared in front of you. They are in the Google Docs called Task 2 in the task part of the lesson. Watch the video that is in the resources part of the lesson and then answer the questions. You need to watch the video to be able to answer these questions. Off you go, watch the video and answer the questions now. Happy days! Now that you have done the first 2 tasks, we are now on to the exam question. In the exam question part of the lesson, there is a Google Docs that looks like this. Use everything you have learnt and the sentence starters that appear here to answer this question. Once you have done, go to the exit ticket quiz to see if you can beat your first quiz score to show that you have learnt today. Here is the exam question. Here are the sentence starters. The exit ticket is in the exit ticket part of the lesson. Well done, Year 7. Keep up all this amazingly good work and see you next week for Lesson 4. Well done, guys. Keep it up.